Okay, so welcome to my channel, SteveO the Window Cleaner. Today we are going to talk about bidding large commercial jobs. So this is a building that is in our town. This is not one of our jobs. I'm not doing an actual bid here, but what I want to do is I just want to show you what I would do when going about a bid. Now usually what I do is I just write down in my notes on my phone how many panes there are, and I usually break it down, you know, third floor, second floor, first floor, any third floor patios, any second floor patios, just anything I can, so that when I go back, put the bid into either Jobber or through QuickBooks, that it's very simple and easy for me to do it. So I'm just going to go around this building and kind of show you what I think about when I'm doing these bids. Okay, so first things first, windows up there. What we have here is 6 windows altogether. For those top 3, if I was to use a ladder, I would definitely charge about $4 a pane for outside only. For in and out, if this is a entry, I would definitely go about 8 to 10. For the larger pane, somewhere around, I would say anywhere from $3 to $4 for outside, $8 in and out. And I think that is an entryway, but I'm not sure. For all this bottom stuff, you really want to decide on, what is the amount that you're charging for storefronts, and that is going to help you decide on what to do for all this good stuff. There is a patio up there. So the hard thing about patios and buildings like this is you want to try to have somebody meet you here, so you can go up on the patio and kind of see how many panes are up there, and those would usually be at the same price as panes on the bottom, right? So over here we have all sets of these 6. So usually what I would do is set a price for the 6 and then just times that by as many sets, just to save time. Take notice there's a pretty big ledge. If you're using water fed, you're going to use a gooseneck. If you're planning on using just poles, you're going to have to use a pretty big ledger, so you're probably going to be stuck between using either laddering or water fed pole here. So that kind of gives you an idea with that stuff. But when doing this type of stuff, I'm just my normal storefront prices as I would go around here. I would not be laddering something like this. This would all just be pole work. If you're laddering something like this, then I would just price this stuff out the same you would price out residential. But if you've been doing storefronts for a long time, you probably understand how to price this out and make a price that's reasonable. A lot of these buildings are very cheaply priced by different companies based on what their models are for their company. So it's a very competitive thing, but I challenge you to not do the same prices as everybody else and do the prices that work for your business, or else you'll find you'll be out of business pretty quick. There's another patio up there. So once again, we're going to charge those as the same way we charge these. I always try to get kind of close to the glass here. I know this is cleaned by someone locally. I've seen them here. So if you see this, I'm not trying to take your account, but it's not too dirty. I can get it through with my fingers. It would just take a good scrub. Okay, so and looking at those panes, I would be right in the range to $15 to $20 for outside of a section like that. For in and out, somewhere right around 30. Entrances, if you're doing entrances and you're bidding large buildings, always bid the entrances with the outside only prices as well. They'll usually be looking for inside and out prices, outside only prices with inside of the entry. So when you're doing these bids, it's good to include that. Just be as detailed as possible about everything that you're looking at. Really, this is a very simple 2-story building. One of the really good things to look for, especially here in America, if you're using water fed and you don't have a van mounted system, is a water spigot. And that water spigot isn't locked, so most likely you'll be fine as far as getting water from there. I would usually run it too if you're actually doing a bid, just to make sure the water is turned on. So you can see here more of those windows up there that you're going to price out as far as what price works for you. Always make sure to pay attention to roof areas like that. There actually is some windows that are up there, right about there, and those would be a little bit hard to get to. So hard to get to windows, I would probably price those out at like $10 to $15 a piece for outside only, because of the time, not the actual window. The time getting up there is going to take longer than the time to clean the window. So we walk through all this stuff's priced normal storefront kind of glass. Maybe for something like this, you'd be right around, let's say for outside only, something around 15 to 10 to 15-ish, probably most likely. So this is a rundown bank, so that's why it's nothing too crazy here. So when you see up here, I don't know if you can see, and you won't be able to see it in the video, but there's quite a bit of spider webs and different stuff up there. So what you got to know with that is that with water fed, that it's going to take a little bit of work to get all that stuff off there. So you may want to look at a project like this and say, you know what, I'm just going to ladder the whole stinking thing. And if you're going to ladder the whole stinking thing, then just price it out like you price a home. If a window's that high on a home, what do you price it on a home? If you have third story, and I think that's a patio up there, but if you have third story stuff, price that like you would price a third story window. Add on the time that it's going to take you to get to the window is based on what your prices are, based on what you're trying to make on the job, and that will really help you. Another thing that's important too is that when you're always doing outside onlys on stuff like this, make sure you're always pricing for the inside of the doors as well. It's very important. To go over just the basics of bidding larger commercial jobs like second, third, fourth story, I would really say too, with 4-story and over, you want to consider like a lift, or if you're not doing rope work, subbing out for someone rope work, or passing along to maybe another business that, one of their expertise is large commercial buildings. But overall, be organized, be very, very organized, take really, really good notes, do a pane count to make sure you know how many number of windows there are. I have only had 2 customers in the amount of time that I have cleaned windows actually ask for a pane count on a large commercial building. So just have that ready. If it's something where they say, okay, then what do you price out each of these windows at? As you went through that, of course, some things are going to matter and change as far as what you price a window at due to how hard it's to get. It could be the same window set across the other side of the building, but way harder to get to. So that's like a different price. Overall, when sending it to the customer, I find, of course, if you're just starting out, I would just do a really nice Word document or a really just organized email. It's very simple yet detailed in what your services are. Make sure that you outline exactly what you're doing, as far as if it's just window cleaning, or if you're doing window cleaning and pressure washing, and also you could add a section in there of, for a lot of these commercial buildings, they're just looking to keep it looking clean. They're not looking for every little thing to be removed. So sometimes a good note to put in there for these large commercial buildings is that this bid does not include the removal of paint, silicone, or any other debris like that. You could probably word that better, but it's good for some to know that you're not there to remove the hard water. You're not there to remove glue or stuff off of frames. You're not there to caulk the windows closed. And there's just certain things you really want to outline of what you're doing and what not you're doing. So just make sure to get that in the bid. As far as finding the people to reach out to when doing these bids, at that building we were at, there was actually a large banner, because the building has been, no one's been in that building for a long time. So there's a very large banner of the company that owns that building. That's a person you could call. If that building was open, it may be good to go in there, talk to the manager of the building, even if that company does not own the building. That's still a good person and a good resource to talk to, and that you may find some good information. And then just follow up with those connections. Follow up maybe with the manager, the general manager of that specific business that's in that building. If you're going there and there's multiple businesses inside that building, your best bet is to probably try to contact who owns the building. Usually at one of like the entrances, there'll be some information there, or where there is the rubric for what's in the building. Usually there'll be something there of, if there's any issues with the building, contact this number, right? So that's a good way to go about that. With the pricing of the windows, I could tell you my prices, but that's really not going to help you. A good general range for first floor in and out, I would say, is somewhere between $250 and $350 in our area. It may be different in your area. If you live in big cities, it could be higher. If you live in small towns, it could be lower. If you're not dealing with a lot of competition, you could go a little higher. But you also don't want to price yourself out of every job you do. So most of the time, what people say is that usually commercial prices are a little lower than residential. But I would not say that same thing. I would say that with storefronts a little bit, but really we don't use that as a guide to how we price. We really try to keep everything, and then larger commercial buildings are probably the most pricey as far as what we make an hour on them. We probably make our biggest ratio, our biggest percentage on those. But for like second floor windows, not depending. So for second floor windows, it doesn't depend on if you're using water fed pole or laddering. It should be the same price. They're both the same product. You should not bid lower because you're using water fed pole. You're giving the same product. It's just that you have the system that can do it faster than what the guy has on the ladder. If it's construction, of course, you're going to ladder it. Or sometimes it's really nice with a building like that, even second floor, get a boom lift. Put a boom lift in the price. I think a boom lift is like the easiest way to do any like third story and up building, depending on the geographical area around the building. That can really heavily make you differ on what you want to do, but it's a very good quality clean all the time. Boom lifts are very easy to learn. You can take classes at like Sunbelt or many other places to get certified to drive them. In America here, the certifications really aren't that hard to get. But that is a really good way to do larger buildings. So I would suggest if you're doing construction clean on a large building like that, just get a boom lift. So you can just get right up to it. There's no thoughts about the ladder. You can scrub as hard as you want. There's no one having to hold the ladder. It can be two people up there with you. That's the way I've seen most large commercial construction cleans done. We haven't done a large commercial construction clean in a long time, and honestly, they're not very fun. Commercial glass construction clean, it's not a fun time. It's just a lot of things that can happen. You got to really be careful with your razor. It's not very fun. And then also, you could choose which way you can send your bid. If you're using like QuickBooks, know that in QuickBooks you can send bids out or estimates. If you're using Jobber, that's a great organized way to send it. An email is a great way to send it. If you're using House Call Pro, I know they have ways of sending bids. Just make it look professional. Like don't send them, "Hey John, here's your price." Blah 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 blah. Like, say, okay, here's the price for the exterior of the interior, blah, 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 blah. Just kind of break it down quite a bit. If you're not breaking it down, the likelihood of you getting the building is pretty small. If these are people that you do a lot of work with and there doesn't really need to be that extreme professionalism, then you can differ a little bit on what you're doing. But I'm going to get on some real shaky snow here, so I'm going to go. But I hope this video has been helpful for you and answering some questions, some basic questions about bidding large commercial buildings. Sorry it's getting so shaky here, but we'll talk to you all soon. Goodbye.